Kevin Durant, Benedict Arnold, or businessman? The body issue, freedom of expression, or just way too much expression? And Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore, best golf movie of all time? You make the call. Welcome to the Mark and Macy Show. We come your way every Thursday night. And it's kind of a first summer edition of sorts, Macy, I think, because you've been to the beach. I'm getting ready to enjoy some summer vacation myself. So it's got to feel good to finally kind of soak in the sun and just right in the middle of summer.
Yeah, I feel so refreshed and, that beach air. I was actually planning on staying there a little bit longer, so I was going to broadcast our show tonight from the beach, which I was super excited to do, but change of plans. I'm back home. But, it happens. Summer's only just beginning, so hopefully we'll get one of those shows broadcast from there. But I feel great. It's that summer air, the salty air, the little bit of suntan that I don't really have. It's a good feeling.
You actually really do have a suntan, so don't pretend not to have one.
Yeah, I worked really hard for this.
So you've promised us, I shouldn't say promised, you've teased us with an on-location shot from, let's see, I believe South Beach, I believe a baseball game, and now the beach.
No, South Beach was Sonoris Moss. That's where he wanted to go. That was Sonoris.
That was Sonoris Moss? I was thinking that you got an invitation. No, I'm thinking of something totally different. You're thinking of his tweet after he was on our show to talk about, hey, we should do a show from here. I actually thought he was in L.A. But anyway, he was in South Beach. Okay, I'm thinking of when your friend Samantha said she invited you to an extended stay after you hooked up in New York and then to Miami, and then you said something about, I could do the show from there.
Oh, yeah. That didn't happen, though. It was way too busy. Way too busy.
And then you've thrown out a baseball game, and now you've thrown out the beach.
The beach is totally doable. I mean, I tend to go there a lot, so the beach is totally doable.
Okay. Well, we'll need to deliver at some point.
We definitely can.
Well, Kevin Durant has yet to deliver a championship and will not deliver a championship unless he returns to Oklahoma City in his old age because he has left the Thunder. So a lot of people have some pretty serious opinions about this as Golden State has gone out and grabbed one of the best players in the NBA to put together what is kind of like a dream team to finish off the run that they started this year and winning the championship last year, winning 73 games this year, en route to what most people expected to be a championship. They couldn't complete it. Now they just seem to be hoarding the best players to say, hey, we want to make it a guarantee for next season. So, Macy, the question I have for you is a lot of people are in that loyalty camp that Kevin Durant has turned his back on the team that drafted him, the team he's developed, the team he's almost won a championship with, and he should have stayed to complete the deal.
I mean, I definitely agree with that. I do see where fans are coming from and that importance of loyalty and doing all that work and building, like you said, the foundation for a team. But then again, sports is a business, and this goes back to every conversation we have about athletes and switching teams. So as a business person and someone who's wanting to do more, get more, win more, I understand completely. As a fan, I'd probably be upset. I kind of see this a little bit as the same thing as the LeBron decision with without the show, of course, to let everyone know that he's taking his talents to South Beach. But I think what's really the most interesting part of this whole thing is how he's going to work with Steph Curry and some of the guys on the Warriors. Sometimes when you put a lot of big names on one team, at first it might seem so great, but then, attitudes start to crash, just personalities about who's the best on the team, who's really the star. And I think that could cause a problem, but you never know. You honestly never know with sports. And every time there's a dream team, I always go back to the Philadelphia Eagles, where they called themselves literally the Dream Team, and they crashed and burned. So, it will be interesting to see how it plays out. I can definitely see both sides of the stories. If I was a Golden State fan, I'd probably be excited. But I don't know. I was actually, to be honest, more surprised with Dwayne Wade leaving than I was to hear about Kevin Durant.
Yeah, we didn't get to that with Dwayne Wade leaving from Chicago, where he's from. So there's a bit of a connection and an attachment there, and not feeling really wanted in Miami. So before we move on to Dwayne Wade, because, man, you got me on Dwayne Wade now, and we got to address that. You always bring up some good points, and then it makes me think of more stuff. So with Durant, I think it's a little bit different, not necessarily than LeBron, but of the typical free agency move, because I think people want to see somebody struggle, build something, and then see it through to completion rather than just kind of jumping on at the end. So Roger Clemens had a great career with the Red Sox. The Yankees had a dominant team that was winning World Series anyway. Roger Clemens, near the end of his career, jumps on the bandwagon, wins championships with the Yankees. And that just doesn't seem like it's the same contribution, like you really built towards something and then you were able to push it across rather than you're just kind of jumping on at the end and maybe you're a missing piece. And Durant obviously would be a huge portion of that team, but they're already ready-made and ready to go, and we're that close to winning the championship anyway. So people are bothered by that. I think people are bothered some by super teams. Obviously, if you're rooting for Golden State, then you don't mind it. But other than that, it's this, we like to see teams that kind of grow organically. They draft their own players. The players stay. They keep a core. They develop together. They win, rather than just grabbing the best players here and there, and then we bring them together and make it happen like LeBron did in Miami with Bosh, although Wade was already there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's just free agency is one of those. It's so interesting, no matter which sport it is, basketball, football, anything, and to see something like that happen, you kind of expect it nowadays, especially with social media. I think things are out there so much more than if you just had newspapers where they wrote about it the next day. So there's always those rumors beforehand, which I thought were really interesting when you saw it on Twitter saying, oh, Kevin Durant's going to sign here, and people were automatically burning jerseys, and people were already outraging over something that wasn't even set in stone yet. Same with Dwayne Wade. Same exact thing happened. Miami went crazy saying that rumor has it he's going to Chicago, and people were burning jerseys, people were jumping off the bandwagon so quickly. And I think with sports now, it's kind of what to expect. When you open Twitter, when you open social media, you don't know what you're going to see, and anything can change like that.
So I'm going to liken it to any other business, because for some reason people put the athletes on a different level in a different place, and much of that has to do with their emotional attachment to the team, so they want their team to win, and secondly, they think that the athletes owe them something because of how much money they make. But it's still a business decision, and it's still a decision beyond a business decision, especially if you have a family. Maybe you like a certain part of the country, maybe you're from a certain part of the country, maybe you just like an organization, a team, guys, and then there's the money factor that weighs heavily into it. So if, and I've said this before, if somebody offers me considerably more money, even though I believe I'm loyal to my company that currently employs me, if somebody else offers me a better situation, I won't even just say money, a better situation that I deem better for my fit of life and my lifestyle, then I'm going to make that choice. That doesn't mean I wasn't loyal while I was still with my former employer, but I just had to make a life decision. I think there's loyalty. I think true loyalty, if you're talking about never-ending lifetime loyalty, well, that's should be saved for friendship, for family. But when we're talking about being compensated for your skills in whatever line of work you do, then there's a limit to that.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're silly if you don't. And like you said, that could be anything in life besides the family and friends and those kind of relationships. But in sports, in the real world, in life. It's about bettering yourself, opportunities, making money, just being successful as a person. And if this is what Kevin Durant feels, then hey, power to him, you know?
The Dwayne Wade situation almost feels almost inverse, that after 13 years, he's getting older. On an occasional night, he can still be Dwayne Wade, but he can't deliver like that 80 times a season. We saw him in the playoffs play almost up to his standard on a nightly basis when it meant something. So whoever gets him, and now it's been the Bulls, obviously, have signed him, are going to have to deal with an older player that can't deliver like he used to all the time, but he can a number of times per season. But where Oklahoma City wanted to keep a player in his prime, it seemed like Miami, they didn't want to be the bad guy, didn't want to look bad, so they played the PR game to offer him, but they didn't make an overwhelming offer. And so he leaves. It didn't seem like he necessarily wanted to leave, but he was still not going to give them a hometown discount. He was going to move on if he didn't feel wanted. And he obviously didn't feel wanted.
Yeah, you know, and my closet feels the same way too, because the only NBA jersey I have is a D-Wade jersey with Miami. So now my NBA selection is totally irrelevant. So that's not wanted in my closet either. But no, it's you know, when all these things were going on with the trades and free agency and all this stuff, someone tweeted, and I tried to find it before we went on, but I couldn't find it. They said, if you can't beat them, join them. And that seems to be everyone's kind of, you know, mindset. If you can't beat that team, join that team. And so far, that's where everyone's going, and they're going to the best teams because they want to be the best team.
There's no way to know this, but it would be interesting to know if Durant and the Thunder would have beaten the Warriors. They were up 3-1. Would he still have made the same decision? Because to me, it's still the same amount of money. It's still the same team, group of players, organization, coach. It's still the same place to – I'm guessing he's moving his family. So you're still making all the same decisions to land in the same spot, but the context of it's different. Or maybe the Warriors wouldn't have made the same move to try to get him. Who knows what it would have been at that point. Or the Cats, as expected, would be the best free agent out there. All right. I think we're done with the NBA right now. Dwayne Wade to the Bulls, 2 years, $47 million. Kevin Durant in his prime right now going to the Warriors. And I think another great point you bring up is just the dream teams don't necessarily work out. Reasons in my book, one would be a chemistry thing. All these guys are alpha dogs. They're all dominant personalities, most of them. So you put them all together, and it's a difficult mix. The other being just from the standpoint of strategy. These guys are used to getting a certain amount of points, rebounds, filling up the stat sheet, and being the guy. You throw too many of them together, and there's only one basketball to go around. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. All right. I hope that we're done with the NBA for a few months. Okay, let's move on to the sports, the ESPN body issue. I almost said Sports Illustrated. The ESPN body issue. So this has come out for about 10 years, and I think it was a statement the first time it came out. I think it was something different for people to just put that type of photo display versus what we've seen going back for decades, where we put bikini models out there for people to look at for different reasons. So how does this issue strike you?
For me, it's interesting. And you like you mentioned with bikini models, we're pretty much seeing the same thing, but those people are models. That's what they do for a living. But with these athletes, they're taking pictures of them while doing what they do without clothing. And I remember the first issue that came out, and I couldn't believe it. 10 years ago I was 15, so for me it was, a little shocking to see these athletes that I look up to, I follow, all this stuff, to see what their bodies really look like and what their bodies take on. And it was a big thing for a couple of years. But I feel after a couple of years, I maybe didn't hear about it unless there was someone really big on the cover, or they made a big deal about just a person in it. But now, to me, 10 years later, I still kind of wonder why it's a thing and what exactly people are looking for when we look at this issue. I don't think it's as talked about like it used to be. But I guess it does promote that you can have any type of body and be a professional athlete, because I think that's what it's showing. There's heavier guys, there's really thin people, there's built people, there's skinny people, there's all types of people, and the one thing they have in common is they're all professional athletes.
I think that initially that ESPN, the magazine, made a statement just to say that along those lines, we gawk and admire these perfect bodies, and those are typically the only ones that we see that are flaunted because of near perfection. So why don't we celebrate everybody's body type? There are different body types of successful people, like you said, and not just successful people, but successful in a physical way, doing physical things. They're successful, and all body types should be celebrated. So I get it, I understand it, but for me, I don't want to see it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, I remember girls, Gronk was on the cover one year. And a couple of my girlfriends saved that or went out and bought it just because it was Gronk. And you're basically looking at naked Gronkowski, and to me that was just weird, and I didn't want to see it, everywhere, but these girls loved it. But I guess, guys would do the same thing with a Sports Illustrated magazine or something like that. So I guess maybe that, I don't know, it's kind of bizarre if you really think about it, but at the same time, if you're really into bodybuilding and working out and fitness, to see the shapes that these bodies are of these professional athletes, it's just a really bizarre thing in general. I would thought maybe it would not be a thing anymore, but every year in July it always seems to strike again.
Yeah, so I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying I'm not into it. And there seems to be, for me and most of the people that I've grown up with or known, males. And so you're giving us an example of females who feel the same way. They want to see really good-looking bodies. Just the way it is. That's the reason they get paid to do that. The ones that look really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Macy, take this one away for me, because there was a reason why you got on social media this week and talked golf movies.
All right, so I had some downtime this week, and I flipping through the channels, and Caddyshack was on. Love it, classic movie. Growing up watching it, my entire family quotes it all the time. We probably don't go, anytime around a boat or a golf course or a groundhog or anything without getting a quote from that movie. So it's always relevant. So I'm thinking, okay, that's great, one of my favorite movies. And then later on, Happy Gilmore comes on. I noticed the same thing kind of happening. Very quotable, very relevant to a lot of situations that happen in life, find myself laughing. So then I start thinking, which is the better movie? Which one's the more popular? Which one's the bigger hit? And I took to Facebook, I took to Twitter, and asked, what is the best movie about golf? Now, I probably should have worded it differently and said, what is the best golf comedy? Because some people took it very seriously and gave me these names of golf movies that were very serious, and they're like, if you have time to learn about golf, and I'm like, That's not what I was looking for. So those people had to count out. But just on Facebook alone for posting this, 64 people commented. And I was surprised that that many people, both male, female, had, so many different opinions on this. I would say on my Facebook, most people said Caddyshack, which I wasn't surprised because when I think golf, I think Caddyshack. When I think comedy or just another Adam Sandler movie, I think of Happy Gilmore. But what I think is interesting is looking at the people who wrote Caddyshack versus the people who wrote Happy Gilmore were probably more of the age difference. And I feel that I fall right in between because people my age probably would have gone more towards Happy Gilmore, whereas, my parents' generation, they grew up with Caddyshack. So that's what kind of drew the line. I think if I still had to pick one, I'd probably go Caddyshack.
Yeah, Happy Gilmore came out in 1996 and Caddyshack 1980. So, God bless him. Adam Sandler's probably played the same character like 16 times in movies, and he just keeps getting paid for it. So it's the same guy he talks it's the same guy. It's the same knucklehead that he plays in every movie, but about out of the 16, it probably worked about 4 or 5 times that it was just hilarious and great. So I like a lot of Adam Sandler movies, but that's pretty much the guy that he plays. Yeah, I told you before we came on that I would have a lot to say on this. I remember us talking about this at one point that I don't think you're a movie person, right?
Not much. Not
really a movie person. I'm not a movie person. I've seen both of these movies. I've seen Happy Gilmore more than once, but it's been a long time since I've seen either one of them. And I don't have a great desire to see either one of them, even though you're ringing endorsement this week that you watched both of them and were like busting a gut.
It's one of those things I didn't plan to sit down and watch it. It was just on TV. And I kind of got hooked. Like, I had dinner reservations, and Happy Gilmore was still on, and I was, like, taking as long as I could to get out of the house and timing it for as long as I could make it to dinner was still by watching Happy Gilmore. It was not a planned thing, but those movies are just so classic and funny, and even if you're not really into the game of golf, it's just a good laugh. And I still think it's so interesting that there are so many different opinions about the two movies, and now that you say Adam Sandler plays pretty much the same character in every movie, I'm starting to think you're pretty right on with that.
Thank you. I was going to start to run him down here.
Yeah, because, it's funny, too. A couple people even commented. They said, oh, what's that Adam Sandler movie? A lot of them couldn't think of the title, even though 10 other people wrote Happy Gilmore. I think one person even wrote Billy Madison. I'm like, that's same person, different movie.
Yeah, definitely. Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, even to a certain extent, The Wedding Singer.
I've never seen that one.
The Water Boy, yes, he speaks exactly the same. He talks the same. Yeah, I really like The Water Boy. I like about 5 Adam Sandler movies. The other ones out of the, probably 40 that he's made here. Not that I could comment on all of them because I can't, but he's done very well for himself. I should say that.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, if I could play the same person in every role and have so many different popular movies out there, I'd be Adam Sandler too.
But I would guess that most people Adam Sandler movie last 15 years, maybe 10 years. The Longest Yard or Click would be the last 2 that I remember seeing. Those were in 2005 and 2006.
I think I saw those.
Yeah, Click was the one where he's got a remote control and he can reverse time and he can do all these stupid things with it. That's fairly interesting. And then he does something stupid and he screws it up and he goes like way ahead and he's like 75 years old and he's ruined his life. And Yeah. All right. We have talked about Adam Sandler on our show for the first time. And he's a big sports fan, so why not?
He is. He is.
We've
He's
talked
a
entertainment before, so. I'm guessing, Macy, that while you were on your vacation, that you did not check out your fantasy baseball team.
no, but I did just look it up a little bit because I finally turned off the notifications on my phone. And I saw I was in a solid last place. So,
Well, I noticed that you at least have won some series now.
yeah,
So you may be in last place, but it's not like 0 and 11.
no.
Yeah, it's much better than that. It's
Yeah.
pretty competitive.
Yes, I actually just went in today, probably a couple hours before the show, and turned off all the notifications for them because they're constant. And I have 2 leagues going, and it's just um, alert after alert after alert about setting my lineup for this and that, and it's just it was too much.
So if you've given as much attention to your other league as you have this league,
I've paid more attention to our league than the other league.
oh, okay. You're 4-9, and you have a fighting chance of getting like 4 spots higher than that because the teams in front of you were 4-8.
Yeah, maybe I should go in and look at my rosters, play around a little bit, see what I have to work with.
But on the other hand, to make the top 6 to move to the championship and get to the playoff, that's I'm not going to say it's completely out of the realm of possibility, but it's a stretch.
It's a stretch.
I'm 7-4-2. That's my record. And if we would have come up with a better scoring system, I would not have 2 ties. Nobody would have 2 ties. I should have thought of that. There would be tiebreakers.
Mistakes happen.
Yes. All right. This is the Mark and Macy show. We come your way every Thursday night, and Macy joins us after a nice stay at the beach. All right, Macy. Good stuff. Anything else this week?
No, not really. My sister asked me to take her back to the beach tomorrow. I told her she's crazy. She wants to go just for the day. But on a Friday, traffic, no thank you.
It's probably 2 hours, I'm guessing.
It took me just to get down there for 4th of July weekend. It was about just under 3.
Okay.
And I'm only 60 miles away.
Well, I think it's worth it for your little sister on a weekend when we're not talking about an 8-hour drive. We're talking about 2.5.
Yeah, but she has to work at 5 or something. So I have to come back. No.
Oh, okay. I'm kind of applying my weekend to everybody else. I'm done for the weekend.
Yeah, I mean I have the day off because I was off this whole week.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not doing a day trip. Sorry.
All right. Macy's done with the beach for now, but I'm sure you'll go back soon.
Oh, definitely.
All right. This is the Mark and Macy show. Every Thursday night, please join us. We will see you next week. All right, Macy.
See ya.